Good morning. I'm Kurt Halverson with HomeTown Credit Union. I'm the Community Education Coordinator, and it's my job with the credit union to teach people about a variety of personal finance topics. And one of the topics I love to talk about is credit scores, credit reports, all that stuff, how to build credit, things like that, because there's a lot of mystery involved with it. There are some good facts out there, but there's also some misinformation. So this is something I'm very passionate about. Today, we're going to be talking about two different topics. We're going to talk about free credit reports, and we're going to talk about how to read credit reports. Now, for both of these items, I can help you out if you need free of charge. So, if you need assistance in obtaining your free credit reports, I've helped quite a few people with that. And once you get those credit reports, I can help you read them. And I can also help you develop a free strategy on how to build your credit score. No matter where you're at, usually there's room for improvement. There's something you can do to help boost your score. So let's go ahead and get started. For free credit reports today, there are a variety of them out there, but why even request your report? Why bother, right? You want to be sure to know what's out there being reported for you. That's kind of one of the first reasons why you'd want to request your report. Also, ensure the information is accurate. Sometimes mistakes do happen, in this age of technology and computers. That's great, and that helps to minimize the margin of error. But usually, there's somebody inputting the data, and sometimes that information gets entered incorrectly. Identify anything that needs to be disputed. So, to dispute something means that you're saying to the credit bureaus, the people that are obtaining information about your credit and compiling these reports, you're saying, okay, this is not factual. So, it might be an account that is paid off, but it still shows that there's a balance owing, or it's money that's being reported that you owe, but it's actually somebody else's debt. I've helped some people out with that. Variety of things can happen where there's mistakes, and when those mistakes happen, you can dispute them. Make sure no identity theft is happening. Identity theft is a huge issue, and sometimes what people do is they will open up credit cards in your name, but they'll have them sent to a different address, and you're not aware that this credit card's been opened until it's too late, and the identity thief has racked up huge bills in your name. So monitoring your credit, getting your free credit reports, you can make sure that everything that's being reported is actually your debt. And also look for ways to improve your score. So I've mentioned this before. I love helping people build their credit scores. And by getting your free report, then we can develop a strategy together on how to boost your score. So the first website I'd like to talk about is annualcreditreport.com. And so for this particular website, this is a legitimate website that was created out of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. The Fair Credit Reporting Act came out back in, I think, 2009, and it said that everybody is entitled to one free copy of their credit report per bureau per year. And the portal to get that free report is this website. So this is a legit, secure website that's authorized by the government. And through this website, you can get your free reports from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, the three major credit bureaus. It's relatively easy to do, and so we're going to talk a little bit about that process. The first thing that you'll do, and I'm going to go back to this main landing page, is in this red rectangle. You will click here, and it says request your free credit reports. That's going to bring you into this page. Now, on this page, you will start the process, and it walks you through the 3 steps to get your report. And you'll do this for each report that you want. So let's say that you want to get all 3 reports on the same day. You can do that. You'll just fill this form out 3 times, once for each credit bureau. Or sometimes people like to space out their reports and get one every couple of months. And so they kind of spread those 3 credit reports from the different bureaus out over the year. And so in that case, you'll just do one. Once you complete this page, it will tell you, or it will ask you rather which report you want. Is it the Equifax report, the Experian, or the TransUnion? You'll choose that, and then it will bring you into that company's web page to get that report. Now, the nice thing about doing that request online is that you get your report instantly once you answer all the challenge questions correctly. So it will ask you typically about 3 challenge questions based off of information that the computer can see on your credit report. And so sometimes it will say, 5 years ago, what was the street address that you lived on? And it's multiple choice. There are 4 answers that you can choose from, and then the 5th is like none of the above. And so it might ask you that for a street address, it might ask you that for a former employer, but then it will also ask you that about some of the debt on your credit report. It might say, in 2012, you opened a charge account with which of these banks? And then there are 4 banks listed, and then a 5th option for none of the above. Or it might say, in 2016, you started a car loan, and what was the dollar amount of that car loan? And so sometimes those challenge questions can be a challenge to answer. And so in that instance, if you do not answer all 3 of the challenge questions correctly for each credit bureau, you will not be able to get your report instantly online. But there's another way that you can get your report. You can call this telephone number, 877-322-8228. When you call that number, you can request your credit reports and you will get them by mail. It takes a couple weeks to get them, but it's very easy to request your reports this way. Now, the catch with calling to get your reports is that it will send the reports to the last listed address on your credit report. So if you've moved since that address has been updated on your credit report, you're going to take a little bit longer to get those credit reports because your mail will be forwarded onto the new address. And it does that for security purposes. So there are other free resources out there. If you remember the catchy jingles from, I don't know, 10 years ago for freecreditreport.com, now that website, if you look at the fine print, it actually wants a credit or debit card number, and after the first month, they start charging you a fee. So that's a site I'd probably stay away from. However, there are other resources like Credit Karma and Credit Sesame. And with these websites, they are free and you can monitor your credit reports through these sites. Now, Credit Karma provides you with what's called a Vantage credit score for TransUnion and Equifax reports. And for those of you that have viewed my video on credit scores or were at last week's Lunch and Learn session, you know that the Vantage score is oftentimes the free score that's offered. That's the one that is owned by the 3 credit bureaus together, and it scores things a little bit differently than the more common FICO score. Most lenders use a FICO score when they're looking at a loan decision. So it's not uncommon for those 2 scores to be different because they are weighted differently. However, this gives you a good watermark to know roughly where you're at for your credit score. Credit Sesame also provides you with a credit or a Vantage score, for your TransUnion report. All right, so that's the information I have about those resources for free credit reports. Again, I'm always happy to help if you need assistance with getting one of those. And let's dive into how to read a credit report. When I first started as a loan officer at the credit union, I remember feeling so overwhelmed when looking at credit reports. I would ask for help from other lenders for the first few months in trying to figure things out because they can be confusing. So this is another topic that I really like to talk about. And I also like to sit down and help people read through their credit reports line by line to help them understand exactly what they're looking at. So no matter where you get your credit report information from, whether it's Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, they all follow basically the same format. At the top of the report, it's going to have information about who you are, personal identification information. It will say your name. It will say your current address and past addresses, current employer and past employers, date of birth, social security number, very sensitive information. So keeping that in mind, you want to be very cautious about what you do with your credit report. If you print it out, don't just leave it laying around. Certainly don't throw it in the trash, but make sure to shred it or keep it in a safe place, because identity theft or identity thieves, tongue twister there, they would love to get their hands on that information. Now, that information it does not just appear magically in your credit reports. That information is uploaded every time you apply for a loan. So when you apply for a loan, whatever information you put on the loan application is what gets uploaded onto the credit report. So if you type something in incorrectly, now that's listed on the credit report. Maybe it's a misspelling or two letters transposed. Sometimes you're working with a loan officer that might type in the information for you. They might make a mistake. Overall, that's usually not too big of a deal, but that is information you can dispute if you wish. Next is public record information. And public record information is not that you got a speeding ticket. It's only information related to financial public records. So examples of that would be if you had filed bankruptcy, that would be listed on your credit report, and that shows up for 10 years. After 10 years, it disappears. It could be what's called a judgment. So if you owe somebody money and they take you to court and the judge says, yep, Kurt owes you this amount of money, that's now listed on your credit report as a judgment. That stays out there for 7 years. A tax lien would mean that taxes are owed to the government, and that shows up for 7 years. There can also be things like collections, which is money that's been owed and a collection agency is attempting to have you pay that. And so that shows up for 7 years as well. So those are kind of some examples of public record information. Below that is going to be your credit account information. With credit accounts, that's going to be any loans, credit cards, student loans, car loans, house loans, things like that. And usually the most current stuff is towards the top of the report. And then as you go down the report, it gets into older stuff. Now, I talked about that public record information and how that can only be out there for a certain number of time. Now, on the credit account information, you'll find that that stuff could stay out there forever as long as the lender continues to report it. So even though you might have a loan that's been paid off for 10 years, if that lender is still reporting that to your credit report, it can still be out there. It just shows that it's paid off, and that just helps out your credit file. And at the bottom of the report, it shows who has requested your credit report. And this shows for the past 2 years, anybody that's requested your credit report. This is really good to know, because if you see anything suspicious, somebody requested your report and you don't think you've authorized it, there's contact information. You can call them and say, hey, back in February, you ran my credit report. Why did you do that? All right, so for that personal identification information, again, it talks about your current and previous names, date of birth, social security number, current and past addresses, as well as current and past employers. We talked a little bit about public record information again. These are examples of different public record informations that might show up on your credit reports, and there is the time listing for those items. Again, talks about credit account information. Now, the other thing that is shown in this credit account information is for each loan, including credit cards, it will show your account number. Sometimes it shows the whole account number, sometimes it just shows a portion of it. It will show if it's an individual account, which means only you are responsible for it. If it's a joint account, so it's you and someone else that are both responsible for the loan. Or if it's a cosigner loan, which means perhaps you're helping somebody build their credit and you're co-signing the loan for them, or they have a loan that's being co-signed. It will show the term, which means what's the length of the loan. High credit amount. So if you were to take out a loan to buy a car, as you pay down that loan, the balance goes down. High credit would be what the initial amount of the loan was. For a credit card, that would be what your limit is. It shows what your current balance is, the number of payments you've made, and also the number of late payments. Now, if you recall from our video on credit reports, or excuse me, on credit scores, late payments have a huge impact on your score. So this will show the number of late payments and the number, or excuse me, the amount of delinquency. So a late payment, as you'll remember, is any time you're 30 days late or more according to the credit reporting agencies. And so once you're 30 days late or more, it's going to show up as a late payment, and that's going to drop your score. So it will show on the credit report within the last 2 years how many 30-day late payments you've had, how many 60-day late payments you've had, how many 90-day late payments you've had, and so on. And so it will tally those up. Otherwise, if you've not had any late payments, it will not show any information there, and it will just show each month that you've had either an on-time payment or that no payment was due. So sometimes if you have a credit card, you don't owe anything against it, it will show that there's no payment due. And for inquiries, it will show who's requested your report. It will show if it's a hard hit or a soft hit. And what that means is a hard hit is when you are requesting to take out new debt. So that could be that you've requested to sign up for a new credit card or take out a car loan or a student loan or things like that. That's shown as a hard hit. And when you hear people say that anytime your credit report is requested, it drops your score 5 points, that's only if it's a hard hit, if you're requesting to take out new debt. Soft hit is what's called a promotional credit report, and that's where you're not requesting debt. So examples of that could be if you apply for auto insurance and they pull your credit report, that would be a soft hit. If you go to get a cell phone plan, if you have your credit report run by a potential employer before they offer you a job, even credit card pre-approvals, those are all considered soft hits. So those don't impact your score at all. In addition, when you request your credit report, that's also considered a soft hit because you're not requesting to take out debt, so that does not impact your score at all. So again, sometimes mistakes happen and you can dispute those items. What you need to do is write or go online to each of the credit bureaus to dispute the items. They, by law, have to respond within 30 days, but sometimes, especially if you are sending in your dispute by mail, allow for 45 days for them to respond to give the mail time to work. So here's the information on how to contact them for disputes. This is also something I can help you out with for free of charge. And if you need this information, you can contact me after this lunch and learn, and I will send that to you. So be sure to check out our other lessons for information on credit scores and obtaining your credit report on our Hometown Credit Union webpage, which is hometowncu.coop. We have a fantastic financial education session that has other videos and also self-paced resources that you can go through to learn about a variety of financial topics. I'm always available to help. I can come and present to small groups, large groups. I can work with people one-on-one, and it's always free of charge. So you can reach me at 507-455-6726 or email me at khalverson@hometowncu.coop. All right. And this Lunch and Learn will be available, recorded on our website. So be sure to tell your friends. And if they would like to join, watch it, share with their friends, we're happy to share.